Hello and welcome to Game Over Yeah, the video game podcast created by gamers for gamers with your hosts Leon,
Dave,
Stab it himself.
and
Hello.
we've also got a good friend of mine from the UK TM community, but he's actually from Germany to confuse things even more. A lovely chap called Dom. Hi Dom.
Hi.
How you doing?
How's
man?
y'all doing?
hello, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here.
Right. Well,
I apologise now. My rats have decided to take a drink from their water.
I know I can hear that quite clearly. Love it. All right.
And the quality goes down the drain immediately.
Quality? Where was the quality?
I was assured there would be quality.
Oh yes.
What have you
nothing
got
but
me
the best
into?
There is no quality.
No, definitely not. Quality assurance, we need some of that shit. I mean, Dave, you're an expert in quality assurance, right?
Oh yeah. Everything is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong here whatsoever. It's all good.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Well, I mean, let's dive into some of them video games, yo. So, I think we'll go with Dom, our guest first. I mean, what have you been playing recently, my man?
Mainly Overwatch, which is kind of this double-edged sword. Like, the highs are really, really high. Like when it goes well, the game is great and all, and I'm in love with everyone. But when it goes sour, which is most times, it goes really bad. I'm pretty sure people who play the game can attest to that. Outside of that, I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 on the side a bit.
Yeah.
We lost Dave.
Yeah.
And also, I have to look up the name because I always forget it. Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call for 3DS. Like
okay. Well, I mean, let's
game.
dive into sort of one of the games a bit more. You know, just sort of. I mean, Overwatch on that kind of level. I mean, what do you like to play in Overwatch? I mean, have you kind of got like some favoured characters, or is it just sort of like or do you just sort of go with everything?
I usually play the role that's needed, but the bad thing is I usually get paired up with people who all think they should be playing DPS all the time. So I have to make a call if I play support and we have no tank, or if I play tank and we have no support. So I usually go for support, and I'm mainly playing Ana. And I have like 145 hours or something like that, and about 80 of those are with Ana. So
oh wow, okay, it's really favouring Ana then.
Yes.
I mean, like for me myself, when I've been playing Overwatch, mainly sort of been doing sort of support roles and maybe tanking as well. So I kind of favour towards like Lucio, when I'm going for support wise, and then on a tank kind of level, I'd usually go for Reinhardt.
Those are really solid picks. Like Lucio has been great since the beta days, but the thing is, he's not a main healer. He's like an off healer. You basically need someone to pick up the team as well, because his healing is too low to sustain the whole thing when things go sour. So the ideal is that you have Lucio and another healer, like Mercy or Ana. Zenyatta has been coming back with the recent buffs. But yeah.
Have you sort of tried... what was the new one that recently dropped? I can't remember its name right now.
Orisa.
Yeah. I mean, how are you finding it?
She dropped on the live server on Tuesday last week, and will be going live on the on competitive tomorrow. So they had like a week off between there, and honestly, I think she's a bit underpowered, and her abilities are kind of a mishmash of abilities from other heroes. Like she has a self shield kind of thing that protects her from CC and reduces her damage, which is kind of similar to Zarya's bubbles. Like when Mei freezes her, she can still freely move, which is akin to Zarya's bubbles, and she has like her right click sends out this orb which she can detonate if she presses right click again, which sucks in opponents to the middle of the bubble. And that is kind of similar to Zarya's ult, but on a much smaller scale. And her ult is this drum thing she puts down that sends out beams which buff the damage of everyone that's in radius for, I think, 30 or 50%. So it's like the damage buff that people get from Mercy's right click. So she's a hodgepodge of abilities that other heroes have, and right now that doesn't exactly put her in a spot where she's good enough to be picked over other tanks. Like you're better off picking Zarya if you want an offensive tank, or Reinhardt if you want more of a defensive tank. So I'm not sure where her place in the meta is right now.
Fair enough. I mean, I really need to get back into Overwatch, like on a big way. I mean, like it's been a long time since I played that game. So Don, you need to get me back on it.
Yeah, sure, can do that. Would be nice to have actually a tank in a game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, on to other games. I mean, there's another game that we've actually been playing together at one point, Final Fantasy 14. And I must admit, I was playing a lot of it over the weekend as well. I was just picking up oh god, what they're bloody called? The points that help you fly as such. You need to go and collect all of them first. I can't remember.
Ethereal currents or something like that.
That's it, the currents, that's it, right. I went around and I've collected them in, I think it's like 3 different areas now, and I can fly in a few different areas, which is really cool. Be able to finally fly.
But I think they kind of dropped the ball in that, because navigating the areas without being able to fly is a huge pain in the ass, because the areas are so big and they're so vertical, and when you drop down from somewhere, it takes forever to get back up.
It does. And like there was a couple of times where I dropped, I think I was in the the one that's got clouds in the name. I think it's Sky of Clouds or something like that.
I can't remember,
but there's a couple of times that I dropped down and actually just died instantly as well.
Or that happened.
I
was just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Did you use the compass
flying thing then?
Well, it wasn't that I was flying as such. It was when I was going around collecting the points so that I could fly. There was a couple of times where I just went, whoops, off the edge now. And I was like, oh, I'll make this. Because like usually like my health goes down to like 900 or, at worst 1 kind of thing. But no, a couple of times, wipe.
So did you use the compass to find the currents, or?
I did actually use the compass.
Yeah.
And I think that was my downfall, maybe.
It took me forever to find the compass. It took me forever to find the compass. I was like blindly stumbling across and using like online guides to find the currents, and I was like, I have an item that helps with that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't even realise that at first, so hence why I never bothered to go and collect them. And then like I was literally just playing at the weekend and sort of looking at my items and saw in a key item there, and I was like, there's a fucking compass right there. It tells me where to fucking go. Like, how did I not know this? Like,
yeah. I think I could be more apparent about that.
Yeah, I mean, how are you finding your sort of return back to Final Fantasy 14?
I'm not a huge MMORPG player myself. Like, I've played Guild Wars 1 back when it came out. Like, oh god, how was that? Like 10 years ago?
It was a while
something
now,
like something like that. And I never got huge into it. And so I'm not really qualified to talk about MMOs. I think all my points I make about MMOs are really bizarre from people from the viewpoint of people who actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's mostly I really like the art style and the music in the game.
Massively. No, I agree with you. The music wise, I find myself just sort of wandering around and just getting lost in the music in some sense on that game, because that's what it's like a staple in Final Fantasy video games. I've found is that the soundtrack has always been fantastic.
Yeah, that's why I also play Theater Rhythm. Like that game plays to that music so well. Like, but yeah, outside of that, I like the classes, like that you're not locked into one class for the entire time, but you can switch it up, and also some of the classes play really interestingly. Like I play mainly my main class is Summoner, and I don't know. I like the way it interacts with within the fights, like that you have basically a companion, your chocobo, and you're basically a team within yourself.
That's right. I really like being able to have the chocobo out with me, like just, use a Gishel green kind of thing, and you'll just have them there alongside you fighting with you, which is like really helpful for me, playing as a white mage all of the time. Now, don't get me wrong, white mage can actually, deal some damage, when you're solo playing kind of thing. I mean, maybe not so much, if in a party you just sort of, chill back.
It's not your job.
Yeah, it's not my job. I'll just heal everyone. But when you're playing solo, it's just so handy to have it there, because, the chocobo is going to tank for me while I just spam stone 2 pretty much. And yeah, no, it is a really good system that they've got going on there. And I like, the other things that I kind of like about the game is just the being able to get into sort of dungeons fairly easy. I mean, obviously I'm playing white mage, so I'm a healer class. So, but if you're playing DPS, then it's going to take you fucking ages to get in a dungeon. But like I like that the fact that it's kind of, it pulls the players as such. So in other words, it's not just the people off your server. The fact that you can technically play with people on other servers because of the fact that the dungeon is a separate instance. So it means that there is a sort of a larger pool of players to be able to actually play with.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. That is the case. Yeah, that's a really sort of a big winning point from Final Fantasy 14. Definitely like the main competitor to World of Warcraft. I wouldn't say much else sits on top of it really. Just because, it has got a large player base because of the whole Final Fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah, that name helps a lot.
Yeah, big time. And, a lot of people did carry over from Final Fantasy 11, which is still going, may I add, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, they released the complete edition earlier, like last year or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And, I mean...
Is there a subscription to 11?
Yes, there is still a subscription. I believe it is cheaper than what Final Fantasy 14 is, though. I must admit, won't be able to tell you what that is right now, but there is like an entry level subscription fee that you can do on Final Fantasy 14, which I think is around the same price, and that's what I'm kind of on, which only lets you have, I think, one character per server or something like that, but you can like pay a little bit more to be able to have more on a particular server if you wanted to.
It's interesting that they're still going with the subscription payment model when a lot of MMOs are moving more towards the free-to-play aspect.
True. I mean, but World of Warcraft, they've been doing that subscription model for a long time, and
I don't think they'll be budging anytime soon. If they did change, they're actually Fallout.
They're actually putting up the fee. They're actually putting up the fee soon. I was reading about
prices across the board. Everything's getting more expensive for them.
That's right. Yeah, I mean they're saying, oh yeah, inflation kind of thing. I think it's pretty much UK and Europe.
They're trying to readjust it because of the way that the prices are in Europe, and so they're just balancing it across the board, which basically is code for we want more money, so we're putting it up.
Stealth tax.
Yeah, I think they're still going with a subscription-based model because they're actually putting a lot of manpower into the game, and those costs have to be compensated somehow. And I don't think like some in-game cosmetics, like they have in-game cosmetics that you can buy with real money, but I don't think that would keep the whole game afloat. I don't think that's reasonable. Not
they
with
might
the not
own some of the gold companies, maybe.
could be.
Yeah. There's a lot of like, it's like the Illuminati, isn't it? They're like, oh, they fucking, where's all this gold come from? And like that they fucking all this stuff. I don't think they actually do, but you see on the forums, people have like basically they're selling it to the gold farmers, the gold server things, and then fucking getting them banned and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, all right, calm down, pipe down a little bit. So.
I can't see it. I can't see it personally. I mean, I think it would maybe hurt their model, but then I suppose if they're
you
making
can
money
buy
from
certain
it, yeah.
things now, can't you? Because you can buy
a coin. It's like a token.
The coin thing, can't you?
Yeah.
Which I guess, to be honest, it makes sense in some ways because I think there is a lot of players that just do not have the time, and that that they don't want to also be like just nowhere near. I like some of the things they do where you can kind of level one of you buy this upgrade and you get one character goes up to whatever and stuff like that. Some people would say that's cheating and so on, but most games have some kind of pay to play element to it, and I think it doesn't ruin the game. It doesn't give you the top end stuff so no one can beat you sort of thing. It just gives the CEOs of companies that are spending 70 hours at work a week and don't have 70 hours to play World of Warcraft but still want to be a fucking troll shaman at the weekend, gives them something to do, doesn't it?
That's the fact that these games have been going on for so long now that any new player is going to really struggle
basically.
Yeah, so they want to give them an opportunity to catch up, because it's like you got your friend coming and going, play with us, and it's like, sure, but now you're going to have to wait 6 months for me to grind my way through.
It's true. And the thing is that Final Fantasy doesn't really have anything like that. There isn't any sort of proper boosters as of yet. There kind of has been sort of some talks that they might be sort of considering doing it, especially with their new expansion that's coming up in June as well, because it can be a massive ball ache having to go through all of the story stuff just to be able to unlock all of the dungeons, all that kind of thing. And I'm still going through Heaven's Ward content at the moment, and I haven't unlocked everything yet, and it's just sort of like it is taking a ridiculous amount of time, but I suppose that's what MMOs are, right? A massive time sink.
Time sink.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm also nowhere near done. I think I'm like halfway through Heaven's Sword, but the difference between us is my main class is DPS, so instances take a long time for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't quite reached the point yet where you spend 60 quid on a game that you just load up and there's a big I win button. You press it and then there's like confetti and streamers and party music and then you're done.
It's one of the things I loved about World of Warcraft, because I was always a paladin as my main, and it was sort of like, okay, I'm struggling to get, like, if my guild wasn't around or stuff, oh, fuck it, I'll roll as a healer or I'll roll as a tank. So I kind of always had that option of I could switch between one. I might not be the best DPS or healer or tank or whatever, but I could basically fill any role. So I never really had to wait around to do stuff, which was always nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, I haven't played that game in so long. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was just like, I don't think at this time in my life I can justify playing World of Warcraft. I'm pretty sure I would lose my job if I
Yes. Taking the dip into the MMO pool. But it's like any MMO. The DPS, there are millions of them. Tanking and healing. Not so many players, because it requires a different skill set. Yeah. And so people tend not to gravitate towards that because it's not as flashy or fun. And people tend to shout at you if you get it wrong. So
and you don't get to kill people.
And you don't get to kill people, which is probably the more... Well, you do as a tank.
Yeah, but not really.
You do as a healer when someone's fucking you off and you just decide... Stop healing him.
Yeah, you get to kill the wrong.
I have definitely done that before. Like when
100 times, a million times. Like when someone's just like whinging and whining. We can definitely do this without you. Die. Right, we'll carry on with the rest of them. And then suddenly, like, oh, how did you? Oh, sorry, lag. I don't know, man. Suddenly, my healing is at 100% efficiency now that you're dead.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that happened. It happened with tanking as well. If I was tanking, it'd be like, you're really annoying me, so I'm just going to accidentally drop the monster on you. Oh, I do apologise. I guess the taunt. Oh, you appear to be steamrolled and dead. Okay, well, I've got the monster back now, so all is well.
It's the same thing in Overwatch. There's actually a parallel between everyone wants to play DPS, and you have a certain power if you play support or tank. If someone gets in your grill and you're like, somebody is spamming a chat, you don't heal me, you don't heal me. Okay, then I won't heal you. If I don't do it anyway in your perspective, then dropping to 0 will mean nothing. So have fun with that.
I actually find the support classes more fun on Overwatch. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Me too. Yeah, definitely.
The only person I really like DPS wise is going around with is it Reaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, with a shotgun.
Yeah, just because that's quite fun to just literally pop up and take everyone out with shotguns and then and like flailing around. But actually, I quite prefer like the support, probably because no one plays support. So I think you're right on that. And it's like when we pick up that class, suddenly your team starts winning, and it's like, oh look, we're winning games because we have a support character that's actually doing well. Like,
there's a lot more pressure.
It's
like what we were discussing last week. Sorry, it's like what we were talking about last week with Battlefield and people getting into the helicopter. It's all well and good you getting into the helicopter as long as you can fucking fly the thing. Because if you don't, then everyone will hate you as you accidentally blow it up on the ground. So with support, it's all well and good and it is fun to play as long as you can do it. If you do it wrong, then everyone will hate you.
Yeah, and it's usually the support roles that get the blame if things go tits up. Right. It's always the support. It's almost never the DPS that admit that they made a mistake. No, it's the healer that didn't properly carry them as they rush in alone.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you seem to have a healer. Well, there you go. I am now immortal. Ah!
I mean, I was
Leroy!
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I was playing yesterday, and on Final Fantasy, and I was in a dungeon, and like the tank was just running in like carelessly and just sort of like just pulling too much. I was just sort of like, there's no way that I can cure everyone this quickly. Like, what are you doing? And like, in the end, because like it happened like 3 times in a row. We just got wiped 3 times in a row. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to write something now. But I was nice about it. I was like, could you not pull so much? Because I can only cure so much.
Yeah, that is a problem. When the
cure better though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when the tank thinks the DPS is better than it actually is, and it's like, well, I'm going to just pull these 20 monsters, and you haven't killed them yet. Why have you not killed them yet? Kill faster.
I still have doing a Warcraft, like when you did a Dead Mines run with like a low level, you're trying to boost them, sort of thing.
Oh,
running through like consecration, basically everything's coming for me, and then he'd fucking attack one and it'd kill him, and I'd be like, what are you doing? Just literally, I've got the whole instance attacking me, and I'm fine. Just ignore them. Just stand back. Just stay there.
You can tell that the ones that have been boosted, because they've got this mindset that things are easy to kill and that everything will just die for them. So as soon as they're like left on their own and they actually go up and actually start doing proper fighting, it's like, oh shit, massive shot. I hit it and it didn't fall over. What the hell?
I was watching videos the other day of just like people just epic gaming. It's called like epic gaming wins and stuff. And the one that I just kept repeating videos of was people in Modern Warfare and how quickly they could get a tactical nuke. And it was truly impressive how good some of these people were, and like how they would just basically get to the Pavlo and get to the airstrike or whatever and stuff like that. And one of them won the game in 46 seconds. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you see, like the guy fires a grenade off, and it's on the level that had, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where the middle is sort of like the cave, and you'd all come into the cave.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember. Cool. And basically, he fires one of them off, and he takes the whole team out in one go, and then like shoots one other person, gets his first perk or whatever they're called, the And then literally from that point on, and it's just all his team going, no fucking way, no fucking way. And then like you see the tactical nuke, he does it, and there's a guy coming to kill him just as he's doing it, and they're all like, oh my god, this is gaming greatness, man, this is gaming greatness. So funny. And just people playing. What was the other one that I watched that I was just in awe of? I can't remember what it was. Oh, fucking like Tekken. And just people like basically like their stream, they'd be talking to it and they go, I fancy only doing this move for the whole game and like blocking everything and then just like one jab and like literally because he can't do enough damage in the time, it's almost time out. But like the person hasn't taken any damage the whole game because he's just blocked and jumped out of the way and then just hit him with one punch and then moved out of the way. It's like you know when someone's on that other level of it, I always love it on UFC when like I sometimes get matched against someone that is just doesn't know what they're doing at all, and they just swing wildly, and it's like, oh, your stamina's nothing. Like you're gonna get knocked out. So I don't knock them out. That's no fun. I just keep fucking knocking them to the floor so that they're fucked, and then they get more aggressive. They're like, oh, get them back. And literally, it's like the other day I had one. So if you fight someone like one knockdown or two knockdowns it's probably a bit rare if you're on the same kind of level, unless one of you gets an early win going. And in this one, I had 29 knockdowns in a 3-round fight. And that's just ridiculous. Like, literally, every time he'd punch, I'd just duck out the way, knockdown. Duck out the way, duck out the way, knockdown. It's so much fun. It's just like the fucking spam back of just, you think you're really good at this game? No, I just think you're really shit. Like, you don't know what you're doing in the slightest.
Amazing. Talking about epic gaming, I was watching a video of Dead Space because I was playing Dead Space over the weekend and I'm on impossible level and it's really, really hard. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch a video of someone playing it and they're doing a no damage run of this game and they're running around and for pretty much the first few levels, they don't upgrade any equipment. They don't use any healing. They just sell everything. And just running around and just taking on these dudes who are just ridiculously fast and nasty. And he's just there going, la, 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 freeze, kill, kill, kill. Next one, la, la, la. And it just like, you're making this look ridiculous. So well done. And yeah, no damage whatsoever. And it's just like, that's nuts. Yeah. And there's a bit where he gets a weapon and it's got a bomb attachment. Then you leave it and it's like a sort of trip mine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he'll run in. He'll drop it. He'll then run back out. He'll turn, face away from the camera. The thing will go off because he's set off the enemies that spawn in. And the timing of it is that it goes off as the enemies spawn in and you'll kill them. And it's just like perfect timing. And you're just like, wow, that has got to have taken so long to practice that sort of thing. But it looks very impressive.
Yeah, it's why I love the Games Done Quick marathons.
Oh,
like
me too, man.
Some of the displays are just insane. Like my favorite games, they usually stream at least one of those is F-Zero GX, which is just mental when it's done right. And surprisingly enough, Super Monkey Ball, which is also really, really hard.
Yeah.
And people are just doing skips in that game, which shouldn't necessarily even be possible. Like they break the physics within the game just because they know they have to nudge the analog stick like at a 45.357 degree angle and then go for like half a second and then turn in the other direction and fly right off the map and then poof, and then there's the exit. Easy.
Yeah. I know, I had so much trouble with that game. I may have broken a couple of controllers in my time to play that down.
It's brutal, man. Like the exterior is like so cutesy and they have monkeys and balls and they run around.
I know, and then you actually play. It's like, oh. Although the multiplayer games were great. The bowling.
Yes, I love them.
Well, I mean, Dave, man, let's get into some of your games, dude, man. What you been playing this week, man?
Okay, well, other than Dead Space, attempting to do Impossible and crying a lot because it's just brutal game. So hard, but so much fun. Really love that game and just so atmospheric. And apparently there's rumours that there's going to be a fourth one coming, but I haven't really looked into it very much. But that would be kind of nice. Hopefully they'll move away from the more shooty style that they went with the third one, and back to the original sort of horror trope of it. Because that's the thing, I love the first game. Really, really well done. Jump scares, sure, every game does it now, but back then it was, it did it really well. And it was the sort of game that if you panicked, you're dead. But if you take your time and everything, then you could get hold of, when the things were spawning in, and you could deal with it. And it was the sort of game that you could do it just the basic gun, and even gave you an achievement for doing it. If you did it with one gun all the way through, you were a badass, and I've managed it, and it is very cool. So I like that it gave you sort of different styles of play. And the second one was good. I didn't really get that far into it, but it felt more of a film than an actual game, which just sort of made it a bit more sort of mainstream. But I'll probably go back to it and give it another crack. And I haven't tried the third one, but apparently the third one's a bit pants. So yeah, so I did that. That was good. And then I did some MMOing. WorldStar. It's still going. It hasn't died yet. There is still a community, a very active community. There is still a dev team, a very active dev team. They are still putting content out for it. It is very much a free-to-play game. Pretty much everything you want, you can buy with money, which is kind of good in the sort of way of boosting yourself up if behind and you need to get there. But it's also done in a nice way that if you just want to play it as a free-to-play, you can. There's one of those daily logins that gives you stuff, and there's one of those items that as you level up, you'll be able to unlock free stuff, which helps you progress further, which is nice. But yeah, WorldStar's really good, and like with the Final Fantasy, the music is amazing, so good. The music is incredible. There's some places where you just like, I choose not to play the game anymore. I'm just going to sit here, let the music wash over me, and enjoy a sandwich or a cup of tea or something, and watch the prettiness of the game. There is obviously, like every MMO, annoying things like the grind and the farming. But one thing I do like about the farming is that as you go around, you collect these nodes, like with, I don't know, World of Warcraft, where you go up and you're like, there's some ore. So you run over and you got the animation of you going, chink, chink, and then you get the ore. With this one, there's like these sort of test tubes stuck in the ground, and you're hoovering them up with your Ghostbuster Hoover, and they sort of fly off, and you then hit a button and you collect them all up. But sometimes the pod that you're getting it from its legs, and it's a little machine, and it runs off. And so you have to run after it and continue harvesting it before it escapes. And then there's other times when it turns into like an enemy, and then if you defeat it, it drops like a super one. But if you take it, it takes you to a bonus level where you get bonus ore that you can mine, which I don't know if it's just that particular resource. If it's all the resources, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, because it kind of like, it takes away a little bit from the monotony of actually having to just mine.
Yeah. The first time I did it, I was just hitting the mining button, and it wasn't doing any more mining. And I'm like, why is it not doing any more mining? And I realised that my mining node was halfway across the map, and we were still running. It's like, fuck you, I'm gone. I'm out of it.
My brothers played that for a little while, and I just remember them complaining about, at the time, like the grind was just hardcore. To get to like attuned to certain things, you had to do a lot to unlock certain bits and pieces. I never really played it. I had a little go on it, but I quite like the style of it. The thing is, these days, like MMOs wise, I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to take away like that. They do all right, but they never like break the internet, if you know what I mean. Like World of Warcraft has such a big player base, and I see things like Elder Scrolls, and I see Lord of the Rings and so on. I go, I kind of want to play that. But what's their player base like? 1 million players? 2 million?
Lord of the Rings still has quite an active community. I don't know how many it is. But then again, World of Warcraft is losing subs. So it's not as many as it used to be. It is dropping. You're finding that a lot of the gamers are now moving on to other things. And so MMOs are sort of coming back down to a sort of a normal level rather than this super massive overinflated number. But I still think that there is plenty of people out there to keep it going. I don't think there's any that are like dangerously low on subs, as I'm aware. Lord of the Rings is just done a new update. The Black Gate. We have finally reached Mordor. So that's going to obviously try and pull people back. And they have said that once they've done the proper story and dropped the ring in and blown up Mordor and everything, there will be more stuff to do after that. So there will be future gaming on that, which is nice. So it still has a future. But yeah, you're right. World of Warcraft has pretty much dominated the scene, and it's very difficult for other MMOs to try and break into that. But I think that's beginning to lessen over the years as people are starting to understand what is required in an MMO and what isn't. But I know that things like Roblox and stuff like that and Lego certainly is aiming more at the kids, and it's more about using your imagination and building your own worlds and letting people come in and abuse your world.
I always thought that they could have I think The Division was what I hoped it could have done as an MMO RPG, but it didn't. But I always thought if you had something like a Grand Theft Auto based, modern day, but almost like street gangs sort of thing. So like my idea of a really good game would be, like you're a 14, 15-year-old kid in London sort of thing, and you've got all these different choices of what you can actually do. So you could go down the crime route, or you could go down the business route, or you could go down all these kind of things. So it's almost like a real life thing, but instances would be, a lot, whether it's like hand to hand, or I don't know, but like just something a bit different, because the problem is with a lot of MMOs, like the premise is the same in pretty much every game. Mm-hmm. Actually, realistically, the graphics wise is nothing, because, it's a very, you're hitting this monster, but it doesn't do anything to it sort of thing. And you're not, I always thought that I thought The Division could have done something there where it was kind of a bit of a breakup, because you've never really had an MMO sort of shootery as much, if you know what I mean. And that, I think, did some things really well, but because there was so much hype for it and because they did other things so bad, like the PvP side of things was not great. And, that's really what keeps that game going, because once you've gone past the basic story and the monotony of basically the same characters you're shooting over time, it's I always wonder, like in games, like I wish I could just sit down with the developer, and I know it would be like the nightmare of nightmares to explain to them, but like it's like when you've got an execution, like in Doom, there might be 20 executions, and I would fight the corner. I'd be like, I need 1,000 executions in this game. There needs to be a random one that pops up or whatever, because I don't want to see the same thing happen over and over and over again, because that is what takes you out of the immersion.
I believe Aeon did that. I'm not 100% sure. It was either Rift or Aeon, that when you were fighting the monster, depending on where you were standing, there were different attacks you could do to it. Yeah. And you could do it and kill in different ways. So I know that they have dabbled with that, but I agree. There does need to be a lot more
variation.
Variation, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Isn't there City of Heroes? Are they doing a second one? I saw a trailer or something that.
Oh really? Because that City of Heroes kind of died.
Yeah, I mean the problem is with that, it's the same as like at the time I was like, oh, because you don't have any of the characters that you want to play, but then even the ones of DC Universe and so on. The problem is actually like, I think it's actually getting the story going. One of the things I loved about World of Warcraft when I first started was it was quite slow in a lot of ways, but there was storyline behind it and there was a lot of lore there. Whereas a lot of the games, you're going up against this scientist, and it's like, well, okay. I'm not that interested in this sort of instance, I'm stopping some
evil scientist
and all this kind of stuff. You kind of want a bit of like, you don't want too much, so you need like a slow burn up. But I mean, it is hard. I mean, obviously, I'm the pessimist of the team most of the time, and I think a lot of the time there's things that I understand probably couldn't be implemented as easy as we just go, I need this, I need that, make it happen sort of thing. I just want there to be, you look at Witcher, for example, small team, yeah, epic scale of what is in that game. Absolutely phenomenal, like the size of it. Warcraft, I understand there's the subscription base. They've got the money input for it, so they can kind of keep doing bits and pieces on it. But it's one of those things that's quite hard for a new MMO or even something similar in it to come up and to sort of change the game, because the tried and tested model kind of works, and you'll get a certain play base from that. But you're never going to change the game. You're never going to really get all these players that don't even play that kind of game to get involved. You know, you're a person that sits down and plays fucking Call of Duty for 4 or 5 hours every night. You're probably never going to convert them to an MMO because they're just not interested in how that works. And whether there's a hybrid, like what the Division was trying to do of a shooter sort of thing, or whether it's even, you know, a beat 'em up sort of Mortal Kombat style actual fighting, or even UFC or something like that. One day someone's going to find this mix, because I think the games will get more complicated over time, especially with VR coming. You know, the options of what can actually be done of immersion of VR are going to be quite, you know, obviously it's going to take the next 5-10 years to happen, but it'll be interesting to see whether we kind of move away, you know, like, for example, we've got, what's the fucking, oh my God, my brain's gone fried. The fucking most popular game on Twitch, what's it called?
League of
Legends.
Legends.
Oh, the
League of Legends, or
League of Legends. What's that kind of game called? Fucking
MOBA.
MOBA, yeah. So that didn't exist, however long ago, and like that basically formed from using the Warcraft 3 engine and stuff like that, basically for it. What I think is over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, we're probably going to see different genres of games created, because I don't think there's as much interest into certain genres now, and you're not getting cross, you know, people that are kind of playing this kind of game don't really jump into that game as much. They don't necessarily evolve into that game. We used to have, for example, driving games. Almost everyone used to play them because there wasn't that much support of different games. It was a beautiful game. Oh, so you get a driving game. So Need for Speed Underground was one that, like, probably everyone would go, oh, that was a great game. But it's not really evolved from there. Now, whereas the VR aspect might bring that back, you know, there's so many different, do you know what I mean? There's so many different kind of genres of game that kind of have died a little bit, like beat 'em ups, for example. Do you remember when it was like every other game was sort of a beat 'em up? And now
mid to late 90s.
Yeah. And sort of there was even the strong ones into the 2000s. There wasn't as many, but there were still strong games. Now we've got kind of Injustice, Mortal Kombat. Well, they're the same game basically. Marvel vs. Capcom, but that's just ridiculous unless you're a full-on. There's some of them there, but you know.
Yeah, but in the fighting game genre, basically Street Fighter 4 brought it back, way back, and it brought it back to the forefront. Not as much as back in the 90s, but it got a boom when Street Fighter 4 dropped, and there were more games coming out in that vein, like BlazBlue was an IP that dropped around the same time, which was really good, which was done by Arc System Works, the dudes that also did Guilty Gear, and they continued Guilty Gear after a long legal dispute with Sega and Sammy.
Yeah,
they lost rights to characters and shit like that, and they worked it out, and now Guilty Gear is back, which makes me insanely happy because I love that game. And
so good.
There are more fighting games now than like in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, but I don't think we're ever gonna get that boom again, because inherently fighting games are really, really hard to get into. You have to put in work to make a fighting game enjoyable, and most people nowadays, at least it seems so from my perspective, are only about that instant gratification. If they want a game, they want something that tickles their dopamine levels immediately. Like they get into a new, let's say, Call of Duty, and instantly there's a huge set piece that blows up the Statue of Liberty or something like that, and they fly around, zip around, and kill like 20 dudes within 4 seconds. You're not going to get that from fighting games. You have to put in work, real hard work, to make a fighting game enjoyable. And I think it's the mentality that has changed. And there were some people that tried to cater to that. Like there was a game called Rising Thunder, which was done by Seth Killian, one of the previously worked for Capcom on Street Fighter, and they made a 3-button fighter where you basically just have movements and special moves on cooldown. But that game never really got far because they were bought out by Riot Games, and now the game is dead, which makes me seethe a bit because that game was really, really promising, and Riot Games just bought game's dead, fuck off. And there was something there. There's some movement in the community. Another example is dive kick, which is a 2-button fighter. Like basically you can just jump and dive kick, and the game is really unforgiving. With fighting games, it's sometimes really hard to understand or to pinpoint where the match went wrong, and it takes a lot of skill to actually understand what are the inner workings, what the opponent is doing better. And dive kick is kind of fighting games distilled, so it's easier to understand, but it's still very hard to master, because people who know what they're doing will get into your head and read you and get hits on you, and you can't hit them. And that takes effort. That takes time and work. And yeah, I don't know. The mentality has changed in my eyes.
Yeah, well, you're mentioning
that's kind of what I was trying to say. I don't think certain genres will exist realistically in the next 5-10 years. I don't know how much. Fighting games aren't probably going to ever disappear, but they're on the decline. MOBAs didn't exist 10 years ago. Now, or roughly, now they're League of Legends is pretty much the biggest thing on Twitch. What I'm saying is, I think over the next 5-10 years that. Rather than, Grand Theft Auto probably changed the game on the sandbox era. Now every game pretty much feels like a sandbox game sort of thing. And it's going to take over the next few years, not new IPs necessarily, but a new way of playing for the next person to have that World of Warcraft breakout. That, World of Warcraft pretty much was the first MMORPG that was just ridiculous success. Obviously, you had people playing from, games before that, RuneScape, things like that were massive, but were never the financial success that they've had. There's you look at certain games have basically launched companies as such. Look at Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto. They moved with the times, and they basically went from a 2D down, whatever you could call the original Grand Theft Auto, to a 3D immersed world. And I don't see enough of that happening at the moment for someone to steal a marketplace. Yeah,
basically, genres have become this staple. Like every few years, there's a new genre that everyone tries to be like. For example, like in the mid 2000s, it was FPS. Everyone had to do an FPS, and now it's sandbox games.
Yeah,
and yeah, that brings up the point that games nowadays are such huge business and such financial risks, because the development, the financial risk behind that is so huge, because the games are so expensive to make nowadays, takes so much work, so much effort, and that kind of blocks off creativity, because people will just go to what's popular right now to make their money back, at least, and pump as much money as they can into the marketing campaign, so they make the money back probably within the first week, most of the times within the first hours of the game being released, thanks to pre-orders and shit like that. And then they move on, and it's become this cynical cycle where people don't really do it for the creative outlet anymore, but just to keep afloat. And I don't know, maybe I'm cynical. I'm entirely possible, but it just seems like the game itself has changed. Like back in the day, it was like a passion to make games, like the Iwata quote where he pulls out the card. It says here, I'm a CEO, but in my heart I'm a gamer. I think that's disappearing more and more, especially from huge American developers like EA, Activision, Ubisoft. Well, Ubisoft.
Mainly, I think, because they've kind of copied the cinema or film industry in a lot of ways. Once the money became, some of these games make more than films do, sort of thing. They've kind of, you look at film, it does the same thing. There's like 5 years gaps of these kind of films are coming out, and now we're in the age of superhero because they know fucking it's a gold mine, and to be honest, we all want to watch it and so on. But it's a shame. It's a good thing in some ways, but it's a shame that, like, I just wish that the powerhouses would kind of come out and sort of try something new. I don't know how much of a risk that is, but look at some of the rewards. You can never really truly be successful, if you know what I mean, on another scale of look at, I don't know what the sales are, but look at Grand Theft Auto, from Grand Theft Auto 3 through to the latest one. There must be ridiculous amounts of sales of that, and they basically made that industry for themselves.
So let's get into some news anyway, because I want to go through this before everything.
What's new in the news world, Leon?
I mean, for me personally, the most
start with Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Actually,
while we were on Rockstar,
that's a good idea. I mean, yes. So there is a possible release date for Red Dead 2, thanks to God, what was the website again? I need to find it.
Techraptor.net.
Techraptor helped us, but no, it was actually that would be funny. Who was it?
I think it was base.com or something like that.
That was it. It was base.com. Now, basically, it's not up there now, but if you actually go and have a look on the the web archive as such, you can actually there was a release date there, sort of hidden away, for September the 26th of this year. So, what do you think, guys? Do you think Rockstar are going to be ready?
I fucking hope so. I want that game.
Yep. I should really get around to playing the first one again and finishing it.
That first game was so good.
Very cool. Very solid.
I actually think I prefer it over Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it wasn't quite GTA with horses. A lot of people said it was, but there was so much more to it.
The storyline was great. Apart from, like, I'm not too keen on the end that much. I think it was all right, but it was sort of, the thing they did really well in that was there's a lot of variety in what you could do as well. So, the poker games and the things like that. Like, I don't know. I just felt in the world. I really like the sort of the.
I like how you could just be riding along and suddenly bandits attack, or there was someone getting hung from a tree, so you'd have to stop and try and shoot the rope down to try and save him, and you'd get points for going in and basically being a hero. And
yeah, it was good. What was it? James Marston was the character, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
That's when you know a game was good, because you can remember who the character was. Like, I can't remember a lot of the games I play. Like, if someone goes, "Who's the lead character in this?" I'll be like, I don't fucking know. But
did you play the DLC of it, which was the Red Dead Zombies?
I played Zombies, and I played
Undead Nightmare.
That was the one. And I played, I don't know, that was one of the ones that was just as online was kind of coming in, and loads of people played it online, but I didn't really find it that much fun online. But I thought the original story itself, and just sort of it wasn't the biggest map in the world, but it kind of just felt epic, if you know what I mean. It just, there's so much, you're on a horse, and if you wanted to travel somewhere, you could go on a train or whatever. But just like, I quite liked the idea of, rather than going and stealing any car, and I could just steal any car, I had to kind of rope that fucking horse to get that gangster horse, and you'd have the Winchester, and it just appealed to me a lot, because it was all the good things that Grand Theft Auto had done, but innovated in, like, sort of adding little bits and pieces to make it a little bit more spicy, is the best word to use.
Spicy.
Dom, what did you think of it?
Yeah, personally, I never got huge into the Red Dead Redemption series, because I'm not huge into open world games as a whole, and I'm kind of glad that they're dying down now. But I think the September release is pretty reasonable because it's right around that corner when everything fucking comes out. Like it's usually around September, October, when everything just comes out, and so for them to drop that in that time window makes a lot of sense. And I think it's been a long enough time since Rockstar's last release for this to be reasonable. Like I don't think they will push it off another year because the news is already out there that they're making the game, and if they wait too long, the interest will just wane, and they will lose on possible profits that way. So it is in their best interest to release it this year, and if they release it this year, September is a pretty reasonable time to do it.
Have Nintendo ever had a Grand Theft Auto?
They have on DS. They had and like the mobile
Chinatown Wars and
They've never had one of the open world ones, have they?
No.
This could be the first time it comes to Nintendo as well.
No, it won't happen because back in the day, this is gonna take a long time to explain. Basically, people from the team that would eventually become Rockstar worked with Nintendo on an RPG they wanted to pitch for the N64 called Body Harvest, which eventually came out under a different developer, a different publisher, or something like that. And they basically wanted to make it like GTA, but Nintendo was strongly opposed to it and basically screwed the whole thing over through horrible management, which they are notorious for. Like they had demands from Nintendo of Japan that went in one direction, and they had demands from Nintendo of America which went in the exact opposite direction. So the development team was caught in this between a rock and a hard place. They couldn't please the developer, they couldn't please the publisher, and it turned them really sour. So that's one of the main reasons why Nintendo never got a GTA, and I don't think that has changed.
Fair enough.
No.
Well, I mean,
so speaking of September and release dates, what else is coming out in September?
Well, there was kind of like another little there was a like Destiny 2
a nugget.
There was like a possible leak to a release date at first with just a poster sort of happening last week. Well, today, Bungie have come out with a tweet sort of announcing Destiny 2. So it definitely exists. All that kind of jazz. I mean, everyone fucking knew that anyway. Worst kept secret. But the only thing with it is that we still technically don't have a release date. But I mean, if this poster is anything to go by, which was sort of leaked by an Italian sort of retailer, the date was September the 8th, and there was also on the poster saying about a PS4 beta happening before the release as well, like they did with the first Destiny release. So I'm interested to see what they are going to do with it, and the more information coming into the future. Hopefully they've learned from some of the mistakes that they made on Destiny, and I'm hoping.
You know what the tagline is, don't you?
What's that?
It's like Destiny, the Iron King, all this kind of stuff. Destiny. This one's got a story.
No. The tagline will be Destiny 2. Double the budget, half the content.
You're probably right. I mean, like the thing is that Destiny has done pretty well for them. They have obviously recently sort of gone about all of their sort of the content that they're necessarily as their last hurrah in some sense for Destiny. There's been a lot going on that at the moment, and I think that is out fairly soon. The sort of the last run for Destiny as such. I'm interested to see what they're going to do, when Destiny 2 comes out, if they're going to be like properly, just dropping Destiny in general, and just moving on to Destiny 2. They've pretty much already we already know in some sense that our stuff from Destiny is not going to carry over to Destiny 2. It's pretty much, oh my God, you've still got your ghost. So
I'm making any noises though.
So I'm not sure what's necessarily going to happen with it. I am still pretty keen to sort of check it out. Oh, there he is.
It's amazing. Grab everything that isn't bolted down.
I miss him.
Yeah, what happened to Peter Dinklage?
He died. Dwarf and death.
Now the thing about Destiny is it's got Activision behind it, and Activision is kind of like, I don't think they care about the IP that much. They basically made their money back before the game even came out because people like pre-ordered it to shit, and why I will never understand. But
yes, Mike, why did they do that?
£50 version, bam.
And they made their money back, so who cares? Drop out the next one, make money back in pre-orders. Who cares what the game's like?
I'll make you an agreement, Leon.
Yeah, go on.
I'll get a PS4, or you get an Xbox One, and we're going to play the Destiny 2.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I'm up for it. I mean, I think I'd prefer to do it on PS4, even if I have an Xbox One, because I am going to be getting an Xbox One, I'd say, in the next couple months or so. But yeah, I'd rather play it on PS4 at the moment, just because it's kind of hinting towards that it's kind of going to have that exclusivity like they had with, the first Destiny, especially if they're going to be running a beta with PS4 only, if this poster is to be believed as such.
That's big.
It's kind of weird that the American publisher and developer favor a Japanese console over the American one. It's kind of weird. I don't think that would ever happen in reverse roles. That would never happen.
Yeah, but that's because Americans like money, and the
That's
Japanese
true.
have honor. That's basically it, isn't it? Like Nintendo probably wouldn't sell themselves out. Like, if you know what I mean, they'll sell themselves out, but they won't completely go against their principles because of some stuff. Whereas Microsoft probably would.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Sony,
No.
not as much.
No.
Well, I mean, speaking of honor in general, have you seen the sort of the cries going out from the sort of the community in general on the for honor microtransactions?
I have.
Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like these microtransactions are literally, they're cosmetic kind of stuff. It's not anything that's necessarily affecting the game, but the sheer the sheer volume of these microtransactions, and just if you were to, I mean, in dollars wise, it would cost you, if you wanted all of them, all of the emotes, outfits, any other sort of minor items kind of thing, it would cost you around $732.
You can get there. You don't have to buy it.
You don't have to. It's literally they are completely, it's not anything that's necessarily going to change the game. And that's, in my opinion, I'm okay with that. I'm 100%. Like, because at the end of the day, they are just trying to make, a bit more money on top. And if people want, those extra things, then you can. It doesn't affect the game whatsoever. However, I can understand, like those people who do really want everything and all that kind of jazz,
That's stupid in that game, though, because I'm actually in agreement with I think it was the CEO or some spokesperson from Ubisoft itself who said, nobody's gonna get everything in this game. That's just not realistic. Like, he likened it to MOBAs, where there's emotes and skins and weapon skins and have at you for over 100 characters, and nobody is trying to get everything there. No. So why do they want it here?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, how much would it cost you to get everything in Overwatch?
Everything. You
can't would fucking bankrupt you, because you don't even have a guaranteed chance. You just get cards.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You can get the boxes, but like you said, it's random chance what you get, and you can't buy skins with real money. You have to do this kind of exchange limbo to get there. But at the same time, why would you want to? Like, I get if you want to have like premium skins for the seasonal events, I get that one. Which is why I'm really glad they went and changed it from the first event to the second one. In the first event, you could only get the skins through boxes and not buy them with in-game currency, and that was complete shit. And I'm really glad they changed that. Like, the seasonal events are 3 times as expensive as the normal ones, but it's a fair trade-off, I think. And I don't have a problem with that, because like Leon said, at the end of the day, it's just cosmetics. It doesn't affect the gameplay at all.
Exactly. If it was to kind of affect the gameplay, then I could completely understand the outcry that was necessarily going on, because you're paying a ridiculous amount more money to be able to get that kind of stuff. I completely understand if they on that kind of, but yeah, it's cosmetic. Who cares? You don't need it to play the game. So shut up.
CS:GO has been doing it for years, and nobody fucking goes mental over that one. Nobody tries to get everything in CS:GO.
No.
Although
watching people lose their fortune and
if you actually manage to do that, you will probably be one of the richest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Well, some of the videos of watching people gamble that shit is it's literally like
it's addiction.
It is watching. Well, I mean, I know quite a lot about gambling and addiction to gambling, and watching some of them, it's like playing blackjack for big money.
Yes,
over and over again, and it's just like, I've seen some of the streams of people do stuff, and you see their face, and I know somewhat of that feeling, and it's just, madness that, it's not a real thing. It's not even physically a thing, and you're just throwing thousands and thousands away just on the chance of it. Some of the, it's the same as watching anyone gamble and stuff. Sometimes when that crazy thing pulls off, and they pull off the, they get the knife or whatever the fuck the expensive shit is, it's just madness for it. But it is interesting. No matter what happens, gambling gets involved in some way or another for it.
It does. And let's go into sort of a bit of a Blizzard corner at the moment.
Blizzard?
And well, I mean, Battle.net is officially no more now. The app has been renamed to Blizzard app. Completely makes sense. But obviously back in the day, Battle.net completely made sense because that was their whole online platform. But we've very much moved towards online games just having their own platform as such now. So yeah, the Blizzard app completely makes sense. So, but let's have a little tier for Battle.net.
Battle.net and Diablo 2.
Diablo 2, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was one of the most elite people on Diablo 2 out there. I had an Amazon that would fuck the world up with multi-arrow. Like, I could cause people to lose their connections to the game because you didn't have a fast enough internet connection. There were so many fucking arrows on the screen. It was impressive sort of thing. And I remember when someone hacked, because I had that was when you could either do the online version only, or you could have one of your characters that was a normal one and you could go online with them. And someone said, oh, this happens, you do this and so on. And they hacked me. And I was like, okay, well, I'll make a character just for fun out of this. And I think I had a necromancer that just would ruin things as well. But I will miss it. Battle.net is probably one of the most stable online. We take it for granted these days, don't we?
We do massively.
Stuff. I have to admit, as much as it pains me to say, Xbox 360, like how they changed the game on the online sort of stability side of things as well, and Battle.net and even the Counter-Strike servers and certain bits and pieces, like some of them just really know how to do it a lot better than the others. And that's partly investment into a server. That's job one done. Ding. But
remember the first one, GameSpy, back in the day.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love Battle.net back in the day as well. I mean, just I played a shitload of StarCraft back in the day, and that was solidly my game, and I'd be on there for Battle.net as well. But I mean, now
interesting you talk about that.
Now we get the remastered version, remastered motherfuckers, coming this summer. I was so happy when Blizzard announced this.
I'm going to throw out there, why is a remastered version of StarCraft happening?
Well, it's the same reason that they did a remastered version of Diablo for funsies.
It's
not for money.
It's not what people need.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I want to be able to play it on my monitor and it not look like complete arse. Because honestly, the resolutions nowadays are a lot bigger. So in other words, if you're playing
not just the resolution, it's also the videos as well. I tried playing the original StarCraft. The game itself is fine. When it tries to do the cutscenes, oh my god. My monitor has a hissy fit, like a big time hissy fit, and everything looks green and weird and stuff.
To be fair, you are playing on a potato, Dave, so it's not its own fault. But
the connection.
I understand. No, I'm as someone that has watched. Like, I was a Warcraft 2 man. Like, Warcraft 2 basically brought me into the game industry. And my father and myself both played that. Like, my dad still plays Warcraft 2. Like, just has games, not online, just against the computer on silly settings and so on. But I'm interested to see it as a revamped version. But at the same time, I think, I kind of want a new StarCraft or a new Warcraft. Fucking...
I think
give me some new
Warcraft.
content.
No, I think you're right. I think we need a Warcraft. I mean, we've got StarCraft 2 and
when
like,
did
their
Warcraft
expansions
3
after that. Oh, fucking...
Oh, ages ago.
Yeah.
Like
2000 maybe. Yeah. And I understand Blizzard. I know. I was a Diablo 1 player to Diablo 2 to watch into Diablo 3. Like, it's Diablo 3 was what, 15 years maybe?
Warcraft 3 was 2002.
Fucking hell. So that's 15 years. So we are due one.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, it was 10 years.
I agree. We definitely need a new Warcraft.
I think it was, 10 years between StarCraft and StarCraft 2. Maybe a little bit longer.
StarCraft was 90s, I believe. I can't think
when. It's a long time. But when did StarCraft 2 come out?
2005, 2006?
I think it was a bit later than that. I think it was more like 2010.
Come on, Blizzard, man! Get your shit together. Give us some more fucking content, man.
2010.
Oh, there you go.
7 years. Okay, it's not that bad, but in some ways, like.
But I mean, with StarCraft 2, they have been, there has been more expansions and everything like that. They are still necessarily doing stuff for that particular title. But Warcraft is something that is 100% needed. Yes. I completely agree with you.
Well, World of Warcraft's past where Warcraft is by a long way now, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
So really, you need a Warcraft to align the story. And I would have thought, and I'm surprised when the movie came out, there wasn't something to capitalize from that.
Yeah, but Lord of the Rings
movie, there wasn't. I mean, World of Warcraft, yeah, fair enough, but there wasn't. Game industry and movies around the game industry, some of them have done stuff like, it doesn't make sense to me when like an Assassin's Creed movie comes out, but there's not an Assassin's Creed game. So you might get some people, the people that are probably going to enjoy the movie are going to be the people that play the game. But at the same time, you might get some more viewership that would be drawn to the game and vice versa. So whereas it used to be, you sort of had a movie and you had the shitty version of the game alongside it. Now we have the game version of the movie, which is a shitty movie usually, and there's not the game that like. I think they had I just need to talk to these marketing companies, man.
Street Fighter,
sit down
the movie, the game.
Because I've got it. I've got them sorted. I can make them a lot of money. They just need a stag beetle in the office. That's it. And when you walk in, you sit down in a nice chair. It will say the stag beetle in gold on the desk. That's all that's needed.
No, the best thing that happened, or worst thing, whatever, that happened in that category was Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
Oh, yes.
That was just...
Yeah, that was bad.
It was so stupid, but it was brilliant. And the game was complete shit, game. But it was brilliant.
I won't have anyone say the film was bad, because the film was epic, but the game...
I love the film. I know it's shit, but I love the film.
Of course, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, motherfucker. A bit Kylie Minogue as, like, boom. There's some characters in that game. Although they fucked up in that, like, Ryu and Ken were awful. Like,
yes.
They're like the two characters you can't fuck up. And they did.
Yeah.
And they had fucking Who was M. Bison? Wasn't it the guy that plays Gomez in Addams Family?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, Mon chéri, I hit you with a bison
and-
kick.
And
That
actually,
fucking
it
bullshit.
was his last role, and he only took it because his children were begging him to. It was his last ever role before he passed on.
Oh man.
Raul Julia. Raul Julia was his name. Really, really great actor. I fucking love him. I love him in that movie as well.
Talking about movies, has anyone looked at the lineup for 2017 for movies?
Yeah,
I don't remember a year that is as strong as what this year
it's pretty
is.
heavy. There's some heavy hitters this year for
It's
sure.
fucking nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like, because there's some big hitters, but I actually thought I'd bring it up just in case. So if I don't include the ones that I'm interested in just for the fact that they're there, but you've got the new Fast and the Furious is coming out. You've got a new Pirates of the Caribbean, Power Rangers, which I went and saw today. I'll talk about that in a second. You've got another Transformers. You've got Ghost in the Shell. You've got Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got Wonder Woman. You've got fucking Justice League. You've got
Spider-Man Homecoming, I think.
fucking shitloads.
Yeah.
It's a strong year for movies.
Yeah.
Oh god. You brought Ghost in the Shell and it already hurts my soul. That movie's gonna be so bad.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
Oh, it will be. Believe me.
I've watched the first 5-minute part of it, and already I think they've actually done it to the manga. By the looks of things, I don't think it'll be exactly as good. Like, I love the manga. I think it's one of the best ones out there. But I think the fact that the reason they got Scarlett Johansson on it is because she was trying to talk about, like, it's very, the way our world is now and data stuff, and she was one that had her fucking nudes leaked on iCloud because of course she doesn't like people nicking her fucking data from other people. But I don't know. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt until I watch it. But I watched a 5-minute start intro thing, and it's the first scene where she basically, she smashes through the window part of it. I don't think it's going to be as bad as everyone thinks it's going to be. I think it could be all right.
The thing is, I've seen anime adaptations in the past, and they never work. I've yet to see a single anime adaptation that wasn't complete fucking horseshit. Like Fist of the North Star, awful,
Yeah, but
awful.
They don't have they haven't put anything behind them, have they? Really, there's not one that I think.
Dragon Ball then.
Yeah, that's they didn't put anything behind that either. Look at the graphics in it. Like, that was literally a money grab on all scale. I don't think this is a money.
So is this.
I don't know. We'll see. I could be completely wrong, but usually, like, I'm Mr. Pessimist. I'm usually like, this is gonna be shit. This is gonna be shit. I'm not sure. Like, I watched parts of it. Like, I watched the 5-minute thing, and I've watched some of the trailers and stuff. And by not talking, but listening to some of the stuff of people talking about it, and the fact that they got the people involved that actually knew about, like, to be fair to Scarlett Johansson, she was talking like she knew the manga inside out. And I was like, okay, well, she's obviously got something. And she was talking about specifically how, we live in a world of data being robbed and we're going into a different world and all this kind of stuff. And it intrigued me. I could be completely wrong on this one, but I think it's going to be all right. And the fact that those robots look fucking crazy sick, like those Japanese robots when their face comes off, I was already involved in that. I think that looks cool.
Yeah, I'm not a person who gets like wooed by by computer effects anymore. I'm like, they're there. I basically expect them right at this point, and they don't swing movies for me. And
I'm not saying I didn't. That's not what I said. Like,
I'm
not saying that's the reason, but I think it looks visually very interesting from that side. If they don't fuck up to be honest, if they don't just do exactly the manga, basically, then they fucked it up, because the manga's perfect as it is. But this year is, there's a lot of big hitters, and there's a lot of stuff that's actually, we've kind of gone into a world now of film. It's readaptations and starts again. I went and watched Kong the other week. Probably the best King Kong film I've seen in ages. It wasn't like the best film I've ever seen, but it was very good cinema sort of thing. Beauty and the Beast, fuck knows how much money that's going to make, but you know that as a Disney film will probably break all records ever. Yes. Logan came out this year. I saw that. That was actually really good. I was impressed with that. That was a Western. Basically.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Me too. No, I haven't seen it either.
Go and see it. I promise you.
I do really want to see it. It's just
worth
that,
the investment, because it is literally like it is not a superhero film, which is why it works. It's kind of, it is a Western is the best way to describe it. And, you know, it's to see Patrick Stewart. And I came downstairs earlier. My parents were watching Star Trek Next Generation, and I see him, stern, red, all this stuff. And to see Patrick Stewart telling Wolverine to go fuck himself is one of the best moments in cinema. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff coming out this year that I thought we could talk about. The fact that the movie industry, I think, has been quite stagnant for a while, and I even mentioned it earlier. It is just superhero films, but actually this year has got some massive films coming out. Now, a lot of them are IPs that are already out there. Like, to be fair,
and done to death ones as well. Yeah. Like Fast and the Furious and Pirates of the Caribbean are like, how many movies are there of those? Like 7.
It's like, come on,
each.
Done with that. I'm really done with that shit. I'm just can't.
I think the Pirates of the Caribbean is, I would assume, is probably going to be their last one. But remember, this is Disney, so they're good at fucking getting some money out of shit.
It depends if Johnny Depp's going to get divorced again.
That's true. That is true. There's some films that coming out though that like they're IPs that were smaller things that I didn't think would actually do anything and have. Like, so for example, did anyone see Kingsman?
Nope.
Yes, amazing film. There's also going to be a sequel of that.
Yeah, this year. And I like, to be fair, like that film was probably the last film I've seen that I started watching expecting one thing completely and was completely blown away. Like, this is not what I thought it would be in the slightest.
Yeah, it's a film where the worst character was Samuel L. Jackson.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Like, when you've got Samuel L. Jackson as your worst character, you know, and to watch, for anyone that hasn't seen it, block your ears, but to watch Colin Firth go on a rampage killing spree is actually quite fun. I've watched him in like what's the film Bridget Jones having the woman fight sort of thing, and then to watch him actually fuck people up is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, you got Blade Runner coming out this year. You've got fucking Thor Ragnarok coming out.
Yes.
You've got Justice League, that's going to be big. I mean, a lot of these are going to be, and you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of the superhero ones. We've got a new Star Wars, and to be fair, like the new Star Wars is, I really liked the Rogue One.
Yeah,
obviously,
me too.
It's not a Star Wars film as such, but I thought that was actually one of the best ones out there. They've got, as much as I hate to say it, The Rock is redoing Baywatch and Jumanji. I probably want to go and see them because I think they'll be quite fun.
I definitely don't want to see Baywatch. I watched that trailer the other day and was like, "What the fuck is this?
How much of it is
like a fucking train
It's
wreck."
going to be exactly what it needs to be, though, because if they did,
they don't
David
need to
Hasselhoff,
fucking do.
like,
They don't need to do a fucking Baywatch movie.
They
Baywatch was a '90s thing. It should stay in the fucking '90s. Like,
How
honestly.
much of the trailer was in Leon? How much of the trailer was in slow motion?
Yeah, but there's even a joke about that. Like, the girl's running, and he says she looks like she's running in slow motion. But there are some. I mean, I'm not actually. I'm joking about that. And also Jumanji, I think, will be a pile of shit as well. But there are some ones that they've gone back to, like old films that are coming back. Super Troopers. They're doing a second Super Troopers. That's one of my favourite films ever. If you don't know about Super Troopers, you probably don't smoke that much weed, so that might be one thing for it. But you know, that's a really funny film, and you know, I think I just wanted to bring it up that this year is, I don't remember a year of that many fucking big films. There's always, you know, there's one every sort of month or 2 months sort of thing, but this year there's an argument that you could go to the cinema every month and see a blockbuster film, whether it's good I can't quote on, but
yeah.
there's going to be some big shit out there this year.
Right.
Yeah, for me, the big issue is that I live in Germany and I'm kind of a purist when it comes to movies, so I wanted to see them in the original dubbing, and that's kind of hard to do where I live. So in Germany they basically dub everything.
Yeah,
they dub every movie, every show, and to see movies in their original form is kind of like a special feature. Like I remember I had to wait for Rogue One for like a month and a half to see it because there were no English viewings of that one, and I didn't want to see it in German. So that's it's going to the cinema
sucks
for me.
You in Germany then.
It does. It really does. But at the same time, movies these days don't captivate me like the way they did, because it's basically just rehashes, reboots, sequels, and I'm annoyed by that. And especially the remakes, reboots, and sequels to movies that came out like 20, 30 years ago, like RoboCop, Blade Runner,
Recall. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Indiana Jones. Why? They worked fine in the way they were, and bringing them to the present day, at best you can get on par, but at pretty much every time it just gets much worse. Like for me, the worst one was Indiana Jones. Like seeing 500-year-old Harrison Ford stumble across that.
Do you know what? With that film,
sorry, well, hold on. You know you're getting another one, right?
I don't care. I don't.
You know, with that one, what I would throw out there, yeah. So I watched that again not long ago. If you take out the ending, it's not actually that bad a film. Like it's not terrible until the fucking alien shit comes in, and then you're like, "This is an Indiana Jones film. What the fuck are you doing?"
No, it's for me. It broke apart way before that. Like there are some good scenes in there, and I will give credit where credit is due. Like I really like Shia LaBeouf as Indiana Jones. He's really natural, and especially the scene where they talk in the bar. I really like that scene because it was really strong, and the chase on the motorcycle that worked fine. But everything regarding the main plot, like with the crystal skull itself, nothing about that worked.
Yeah, no, well, that's because the storyline was bullshit, and it was George Lucas fucking getting a payday again. But you know, he's good at selling his soul now. But
he was back then. He just had people who would stop him.
Well, yeah, that the real reason is because he has yes men around him, and like now he needs a person with a little whip. Like every time he gets out of line, just slap him down. Like, no, George, shut up, George. Stop it, George.
Yes.
George. Enough, George.
And especially his ego seems to have inflated like exponentially.
Oh, fucking wouldn't yours? I created Star Wars. I'd be in every single bar ever. I created Star Wars, motherfucker. I created Star Wars.
No, but
who doesn't know Star Wars?
But look at
swimming in Poontang for the rest of my life.
Look at some of the interviews he did for one of his last films, which was Red Tails, which was about these fighter pilots. I think it was World War I or II, which were entirely made. The entire squadron was black people, and he went on in Oprah and stuff like that, and said no studio will touch this movie because it has a black cast, and he was sincere about that, and I can't believe that he is serious about this, because there have been really, really good movies that had black casts before. And to be so delusional and so out of touch with the movie industry while you're making movies is just bizarre to me.
Mm.
Last thing on movies that I wanted to bring up, something that's changed the way I watch movies now. I travel miles out of my way to go and see it in an IMAX. It's a different experience completely, and okay, fair enough. Some of the films were a lot better, but you know, I went to see King Kong, I went to see Logan, I went to see a couple last year as well, and I'm traveling 60 miles out of my way to go and do this experience at a cinema, and like I have a meal after and so on. But I went today to watch Power Rangers, which wasn't a bad film, right? Well, it's definitely they're trying to get kids market. There were some jokes in it that were good. There was basically, actually, the only thing that really fucked it up was the best actress in it that they made, Rita Repulsa, goes on the crazy scale of I've never seen a fucking villain like fuck off. But like, actually, the film itself, apart from like some massive plot lines that you're just like, why, isn't that bad. But I watched it in Oxford, and Oxford has the shittest small cinema in the world. And the whole time I was just thinking, like, it just feels like, you know, when you watch something on your laptop, and it's just got no spectacle to it. Like, you watch a big film and you watch it on the small screen, and it has nothing. And then I watched King Kong in an IMAX, and I watched Logan in an IMAX, and it was the big thing. And I have to say to people, like, as much as, you know, the cinema industry is dying in some ways, like, cinema is not doing what it used to do, but you can get 2-for-1 tickets or whatever. It doesn't cost a crazy amount extra. Invest that money for something that you think is going to be a spectacle, to go and see it in a massive screen, because it makes all the difference. The sound quality alone makes the difference in my mind. I remember watching it was one of the, I think it was Star Wars. I can't remember which one it was, but I watched that in an IMAX, and just the war scene when there's thumping stuff and the fucking seats are shaking and stuff, and you're just like, this is an epic journey that you're going on. It makes a difference. But yeah, we've talked way too much about films for a gaming.
Yeah.
So have we got something else?
In all fairness, we should really wrap this bad boy up. It's been a ridiculous conversation this week.
That's just one thing I wanted to bring up at the end.
Yeah, go on.
A news story broke that the new Fire Emblem, like the last one, If, I think it was called in the English market, was done by Treehouse, and now they're doing it with L4 Limited instead, which kind of pleases me, but at the same time, it's not that huge step up, all things considered, because I don't know how versed you are in the localization of the last Fire Emblem games, because it was a massive shit show. Nintendo dropped the ball hugely, and there was a massive backlash against it, rightfully so.
There's a lass I used to work with who was a huge Fire Emblem fan, and she was not a happy bunny.
It was brutal, man. Like, they changed characters, they ripped content out of the game, they changed dialogue to be this, like, really meme-ridden, completely dated humor and stuff like that. And Treehouse in general does this, and because of that, they have a really bad reputation. So I'm pleased that they're not doing that anymore. But at the same time, 8.4 doesn't have that much better of a reputation. Like the stuff they did for Xenoblade X for Wii U wasn't particularly good either. There was some really sketchy things alongside that, but it was nowhere near on the level that Treehouse usually fucks up games. And so I'm kind of in this spot where I'm like, I'm curious if it's actually worth playing, because If was not worth playing in the state that Nintendo released it in, but it was actually made playable via huge efforts by the community. Like, there was a complete fan translation and for the Japanese game, and like a ridiculous amount of effort that went into that, because people care that much about the Fire Emblem series, and Nintendo not getting it in the slightest. What?
It's a big IP. I mean,
yes.
It's not a big IP in the sense of sales and stuff, but it's one of those beloved sort of series
the last game was really bad in the localized version.
Fingers crossed the next one won't be as bad. It'll actually bring back some of its former awesomeness.
Yeah, I think they have to, because if Nintendo keeps treating their IPs this badly, I don't know how long people will still care about it. Like there was the debacle about Metroid. There was the debacle.
Don't even get me. That made me very sad. I'm a huge
Rightfully
Metroid
so.
fan.
Rightfully so. Like the last really good proper Metroid was Corruption, which came out like 2007, I think, 2008, something like that. And after that, sure, we had Other M, but the less said about that, the better. And then they announce a new game, and it's like this crappy spin-off that nobody cares about. And they won't make a new F-Zero because, according to Miyamoto, they don't have any ideas to make it new again, which, please explain every Mario game ever to me then.
And Zelda.
They made a new Star Fox where they stole even more stuff from Star Fox 2 that Argonos made, and Nintendo just shafted because they wanted to promote the N64 and not have a third-party developer upstage the interns. And just, I don't know. I've turned really sour on Nintendo in the past couple of years.
They have been making some very dubious decisions recently. Rachel.
They have done that in the past as well. Like their treatment of third-party developers is notoriously horrible.
Well, there was
like
the whole Nintendo and the guys that did Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong and
Raresoft. Rareware.
Yeah,
Rareware.
just Nintendo and Rare, legendary. There's some amazing games that came out that just got absolutely destroyed because of how Nintendo handled it.
And then Microsoft bought them and then destroyed Rare.
Actually,
Poor
them
Rare.
so bad.
Rare
is one of those game companies that have come out and have done some amazing games that were like so ahead of its time in terms of style, gameplay, graphics, all of that stuff.
And Miyamoto was not happy about that. Miyamoto basically just made Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island in a hissy fit to Donkey Kong Country because he said people will put up with shitty gameplay as long as the graphics are pretty. And that's why he went so far out of his way to make this crayon style for Yoshi's Island. There was the sole reason behind it. He was so salty.
Wow, did not know that. That's interesting.
And the other thing was, Rare actually approached Nintendo if they wanted to buy them, but they didn't. So this whole narrative about Microsoft ruined it. No, they didn't. Nintendo had the opportunity to make them second-party developer, but they didn't jump on it because I don't know. It makes no sense in my mind, but. It just shows how out of touch Nintendo was from the very beginning. Like when you go back into the very start of the video game side of theirs, like they had the policy that no developer could put out more than, I think it was 5 games per year on the NES, which opted some third-party developers to make shell companies just so they could put out more. For example. The biggest example is probably Ultra Games, which is a Konami subsidiary, which put out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. Huge IPs, but they couldn't put it out because of Nintendo's backwards policies, and so they were forced to make this shell company just so they could publish it. Same with Metal Gear. It was also published by Ultra Games, and all those decisions just make no sense to me, and I think Nintendo is finally paying the price for that, for their really bad treatment.
You should go have stern words with them. You'd be like, "Why you do this? You should do it like this.
Why you do this?"
I should.
Here is the 5-step plan on how to make a better company and more in touch with your people."
That will take.
Then maybe we'll now tell you how to run your company. That's what we're going to do. And Stagmeat always taking over the marketing side.
Exactly. Well, we'll save that for another time. We'll try and get that together, and we'll definitely have to get you on the show again, Dom. The conversation has definitely been brewing this week. It's been lovely, actually. So yeah, I mean, Dom, is there anything that you sort of want us to point us towards, or anything like that on your kind of side of things? You got a Twitter or anything like that, or Or,
I have a Twitter, but I never use it.
Well, then don't worry. We'll just get you on the show another time, and you can talk video games with us again.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be good.
All right, cool. Well, let's wrap up this bad boy. So if you'd like to take part in our conversation, you can either post on our Facebook wall at facebook.com/GameOverYear.
You can tweet us using @GoVyear, and you can also follow us on Twitch, which is www.twitch.tv/GoVyear.
Please subscribe to the YouTube. It's youtube.com/user/GameOverYear UK. You can also contact myself or any of the gang. It's contact us at gameoveryear.net.
And don't forget the most important place where you can find all of these lovely links, which is our website, gameoveryear.net. Thank you for joining us, and until next time,
Game over, yeah.